As much as I love this Sinn 104 of mine, I want to get a classic Flieger, one that was issued by one of the original 5 makers during World War II. Join me as I survey what my options are and how I make my final decision between 2 alternatives. Welcome to another episode of Adventures with Time. I'm Bob, your host. On this channel, I chronicle my adventures in watch collecting. I share with you not only reviews of the watches I obtain, but why I selected them, or why I didn't select some other watch. On this episode, I go over my journey in selecting a classic Flieger. As I said at the beginning, I really love this Sinn 104. But I want one from one of the original 5 makers and one that exhibits many of the characteristics of those original Fliegers. And if you haven't seen my episode on this Sinn 104, I'll leave a link in the description below and also put it up on the card here. There were 5 official makers of the
Beobachtung zone
during World War II. And that pronunciation comes from Google Translate, as I never could pronounce that word appropriately, which is why we'll refer to it as the B-Urn. Translated to English, that means observation watch, but traditionally these have been known as pilot watches. I want a model that is as true to the original characteristics of the B-Urn as possible and appropriate for me. The classic Fliegers we're talking about did have some common characteristics across all the manufacturers, as required by the German government. First of all, they came in 2 dial styles. Type A, with a simple ring of hour indicators, and Type B, which is more involved, where the outer ring has minute indicators, and the smaller inner ring for designating the hour. Although I think Type A is more readable for today's needs, I find Type B more interesting, and therefore considering going with that type for my classic Flieger. All these watches had a triangle at the 12 o'clock position. This was to help with orientation at a quick glance. They all had luminescence for easy readability in nighttime conditions. An onion-shaped crown, which I assume was to help with manipulation of the crown while wearing flight gloves. And as I said before, they came in 55 millimeter diameters. Part of this was to accommodate the movement that was to be used, which came from pocket watches. But also, they wanted a large watch for readability and something that would fit appropriately around a flight suit, which is bulky. Cases were made of either steel or brass. From what I can tell, most of the Fliegers came on a leather strap which had rivets to ensure nothing would come apart during the actions of flight. So let's take a look at the options available to me today for a classic Flieger. And remember, I'm considering new watches, not vintage watches. Of the 5 original makers, we can immediately eliminate A. Lange and Son, a well-known fine watchmaker. But they don't make a classic Flieger in today's line of models. IWC is another well-known high-quality watchmaker. You probably all know that they have their Big Pilot model, a Flieger-style watch. However, to me, it doesn't meet the criteria of looking like an original Flieger. For one, it has a power reserve complication, which were not available on the original Fliegers. And at almost $13,000 list price, it is well above my budget for my collection as it stands today. Next on the list is Wempe, or Wimpy. I'm not really sure how it's pronounced. Today, they really run a chain of boutique watch stores carrying many brands, but they do make a Flieger style watch called the Zeitmeister Aviation Watch. It's available in both a 38 and a 45 millimeter size. Although reminiscent of the classic Fliegers, it misses out to me on a couple of key points. First of all, it doesn't offer a Type B dial, and it doesn't have that onion crown. But I think the real deviation is that it has a date complication. Again, something that wasn't available on the original classic Fliegers. That leaves us with the last two makers, Laco and Stowa. Locko offers a huge variety of Flieger watches, varying in size, dial type, dial color, case composition, etc. Almost too many to get one's hands around. However, if I decide to go with a Locko, it's going to be their Paderborn model. Stowa also offers a wide variety of Flieger watches. Again, different sizes, different styles. And with Stowa, if I were to go with one of their models, it would be the Flieger Classic 40 Baumuster. So how do I pick between the two? Well, as someone who has an engineering science background, I'm going to make a table comparing key features between the two watches. Let's take a look at that. The first feature we'll compare is case size. The Laco has a 42 millimeter width, while the Stowa has 40. Although both reasonable for my wrist, I really think a 40 millimeter case size is perfect for my 7 7/8 inch wrist. So we're going to give the edge to Stowa on this feature. For thickness, the Laco is a little thicker at 13 millimeters than the Stowa's 10.2 millimeters. I don't think thickness is really going to be an issue with this watch, so I'm going to call that a draw. Also a draw is the next few features, as they are pretty much similar. Lug width of 20, which is a very good size for swapping straps. Lug to lug, I really wasn't able to measure the Locko, and the Stowa has about a 48.5 millimeter lug to lug size. Both have sapphire crystals. Both are waterproof down to 5 atmospheres. Now with the case, both are stainless steel. The Locko, though, has a sandblasted finish. The Stowa has a matte finish said to be ground by hand. Although the Locko is truer to the original classic Fliegers, I like the looks of the Stowa a little bit better. So I'm going to give this one to Stowa. They both have Super Luminova. They both have thermally blued hands, and they both have onion-shaped crowns, although the Locko isn't quite as onion-shaped as the Stowa is. The movements are pretty equal, both using ETA-based movements, and they both have some of the original watch indications engraved somewhere on the watch. The final point where I think Stowa has an edge over the Locko is at price. The Locko is priced about $250 more than the Stowa. That's quite a price difference for essentially the same watch. So clearly we give Stowa the edge here. After going through this comparison, the clear decision for me is the Stowa watch. But to be sure, I took the opportunity to go to the 2018 Wind-Up Show in New York. This allowed me to try on both watches, as well as several other models from these makers. I'll leave a link in the description below to that episode where you'll see not only these watches, but several other makers that I tried on. And I actually decided from that show to buy the new Zelos Swordfish. Take a look at that video, link in the description below. So having decided on the Stowa, I went online and placed my order directly with Stowa in Germany, and then waited for the watch to arrive. So here it is, my new Stowa Classic Flieger. They sent me a copy of the Stowa collection, a book that basically lists all the watches and history of watches that they have in their collection. I already had a copy of this, but it is nice to have another. And I ordered, in addition to the watch, which came on a brown strap, a black strap, because I think that will look good with the black dial of the watch. Let's take a look at the watch itself. Comes in this nice box, and inside is this nice Presentation box. Opening up this presentation box, very nice, we get the watch. Over here is the warranty information and the watch itself. And as I said, it comes on a camel-colored leather strap. I also purchased an extra black strap. I'm not sure which one I like better, to tell you the truth. I think they're both kind of nice, so we'll have to see. Again, this is a 40 millimeter watch. Lug width is 20 millimeters. Thickness is a small 10.2 millimeters. Lug to lug is about 48.5 millimeters. And this comes in at 70 grams on this leather strap. As you remember, I ordered the B dial, which has the outer minute markers with an inner dial and shorter hour hand. Nicely brushed case, all brushed, no polish. Display back with not only specification information around the outside, but also some of that original be-earned model numbers on the rotor. It's got an ETA 2824-2, the high-end model of that movement, which beats at 28,800 beats per hour, so the second hand, it's got a nice smooth sweep to it. Lume is Super Luminova C3. I'll try to give you a lume shot later. And it's got a sapphire crystal, I'm told, with anti-reflective coating. I'm not sure if that's on the inside or the outside. This movement has a base position for winding. Pull it out one stop for setting the time, and it hacks. Let's take a look on the wrist. Again, this is on my 7 7/8 wrist. I think it fits fairly nicely. Again, I'm not sure if it would look better in black with a black strap or with the tan or camel strap. Let me know your opinion. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed and found educational my decision process in buying a classic Flieger watch. I'd really like your thoughts on how I decided, what I decided, and the look of these watches. Please leave your comments below. And as always, please subscribe and hit that like button.